अस्सलाम वालेकुम मौलाना साहब। अस्सलाम वालेकुम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम मौलाना साहब।
वालेकुम अस्सलाम रहमतुल्लाह।
I'll be on mute, हमारे इफ्तार का टाइम है तो but I'll be listening.
ओके।
जी मौलाना साहब आप शुरू की।
जी। अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम। बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह अल्लज़ी हदाना लिहाज़ा वमा कुन्ना लिनहतदिया लौला अन हदानल्लाह। लक़द जाअत रसूलु रब्बिना बिल-हक़्क़ वस्सलातु वस्सलाम वत्तहिय्यतु वल इकराम अला अशरफिल अंबिया'i वल मुरसलीन व खातमिन नबिय्यीन हबीब क़ुलूबिना व तबीब नुफूसिना सय्यिदना व मौलाना अबिल क़ासिम मुहम्मदिन अल-मुस्तफ़ा व अला आलिहि अत-तय्यबीन अत-ताहिरीन अल-मअसूमीन अल-मुंतखबीन अल-मुंतजबीन अल-मयामीन वल-लअनतु ad-दाइमतु अला अअदाइहिम अजमईन मिनहीन अदावतिहिम इला क़ियाम यौमिद्दीन। अम्मा बाद फ़क़द क़ाल अल्लाहु तबारक व तआला फ़ी किताबिहिल करीम व जअलना लहू नूरन यमशी बिही फ़िन्नास। This is the third session in the series of sessions on the subject of akhlaq, the moral values, for me. And like I indicated earlier, I will touch on the concept of fada'il, the superior moral attributes, and raza'il, the inferior moral attributes, and the role that the fada'il, the superior moral attributes, and the role of raza'il, the inferior moral attributes, in carving the personality of a human, and also the adab and etiquettes. So let me first mention how the scholars of akhlaq, scholars of Islamic morals, define the fada'il. Fada'il is the plural of fadila, means the superior moral attribute. The plural is fada'il. So fadila is defined by scholars of akhlaq as هي الدرجة الرفيعة من حسن الخلق. That's the high level of good morality. So we attain the high levels of good morality, and thus we make sure we always do those of the things which Allah likes. Those are the moral things, moral values which Allah likes. And if you look at some of the, I would like to mention a couple of hadiths so you have a good idea. So Imam Ali alayhi salam says, Al-fadilatu bi-husn al-kamal wa makarim al-af'al. Fadilat is through the husn al-kamal, nice perfection. So we strive to perfect our souls by acquiring the spiritual perfection through good moral attributes. Wa makarimil af'al, and the dignified actions. Moral fada'il, superior moral attributes, empower us to acquire the dignified actions, actions which are honored in the eyes of Allah, honorable deeds. We call them makarimul af'al and makarimul akhlaq. لا بكثرة المال وجلالة الأعمال. So, فضيلة, moral superior attribute, is not through abundance of money. So this is not the way it works. That's not a value. To acquire abundant money is not considered to be a value in Islam. It may be, you know, a means of serving the poor people, serving and performing good deeds. It may not be a means of that. It may be a means of deviation for a person. Money can be used in the possible, in a good way, and can be used in a bad way. So just acquiring the money itself cannot be classified as a value. So abundance of money is not a value. So it may be good, it may not be good. In most of the cases throughout the human history, overwhelming cases throughout the human history, those people who acquired money, in most of the cases, got, you know, uh, away from the moral values, ended up leaving the straight path, ended up leaving the path of the purification of the soul, ended up leaving the path of moral values, putting the values first, and thus so many of the humans throughout the history got deviated. So it's not a value to make a lot of money and keep a lot of money with ourselves. Making a lot of money is not haram in Islam at all. You can make a lot of money from halal, and that's perfectly okay. But when we, as human beings, acquire a lot of money and we don't have the purification of the soul, we usually get attached to it. And getting attached, quote unquote, means we are not willing to give it away where Allah and His divine values ask us to give it away. And that's the sign that we are now attached to it. A person is not willing to pay khums on time, for example. A person is not willing to pay fitra. A person is not willing to pay zakat. A person is not willing in the further high levels to take care of the poor and the orphan and the widows and all those underprivileged people, which actually it's their money given to us as an amanat. So abundance of money, earning the abundance of money is not a problem. It's retaining, keeping, and piling up is a big problem in Islamic morality. So another hadith of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, "Akrih nafsaka ala al-fada'il," means which we learn from this hadith that force your own self, make yourself accept, even if you dislike it, which is called forcing your own self on acquiring the good moral attributes. فَإِنَّ الرَّذَائِلَ أَنْتَ مَتْبُوعًا عَلَيْهَا, because the raza'il, the evil moral attributes, the inferior attributes, the attributes, the negative attributes, are there in your taba, in your nature. In Arabic, we have two words. One is the fitrat, the instinct, and that is a positive thing from the Islamic ideological perspective. And another word is called tabi'at, which means, in English we usually say nature, but uh, in Arabic we have the word tab and tabi'at, and tab is referred in the negative sense in the Islamic moral science of moral values. So the tabi'at is the nature, you may call it nature. The tabi'at and nature is inclined towards getting attached to the material belongings of this dunya, and that has to be battled against in Islam. We are never supposed to get attached to the material temporary belongings of this dunya. And tabi'at and nature makes us inclined towards the material belongings of this dunya. Thus, we get attached to it. And when we get attached to it, all the sins a human being performs is because of his attachment with the material temporary world. If we detach ourselves, there will be no sin. All the sinning is because of that. So Imam Ali Islam says, فَإِنَّ الرَّذَائِلْ أَنْتَ مَتْبُوءًا عَلَيْهَا. Force yourself, in other words, make yourself accept, even if you dislike it, make yourself accept the superior moral attributes, the fada'il, because radha'il, your tab is already in taking you towards them. In other words, your radha'il is something your tab and nature is already inclined towards that. That's the battle. That's the battle we have to fight. The third hadith says, Al-irtiqa'u ila al-fada'il sa'bun munji. Elevating. So we learn from this hadith that elevating towards the fada'il, superior moral attributes, is hard. Sa'b, munji. It's hard, but it's going to make you successful. It's it's a savior. Al-inhitatu ila radha'il, dropping down to the negative moral attributes, the inferior attributes, is sahlun murdi. That is easy, but it's going to deviate us. That's what we learn from the hadith. So inclining towards the material things, it's an easy thing. Inclining towards our lusts and desires, which obviously come out from that inclination and that attachment of matter, because when we get attached to the world of matter, when we are inclined and get attached to the world of matter, this is where we would like to do our worship of desires, obey what our desires say, our lusts and desires. It's all about attachment with the world of matter, and that deviates the human being. Murdi, it deviates the human being towards misguidance, off from the track of Islam, the straight path of Islam. So on the day of judgment, there will be certain people, when they will be resurrected, they will go uh, uh, speedily towards the paradise. Look at the hadith of of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, where Prophet says, "Iza jumi'a al-khala'iq yawm al-qiyamah nada munadin ayna ahlul fadl." When we learn from this hadith that when on the day of judgment, all the people, all those creatures will be gathered, there will be an announcer who will announce, where are the ones who are ahlul fadl, people of moral superiority. فَيَقُومُ أُنَاسٌ وَهُمْ يَسِيرٌ. There will be some people rising up and there will be less. That means there will be less people who are ahlul fazl, those who belong to the superior moral attributes. فَيَنْتَلِقُونَ سِرَاعًا إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. They will speedily go towards the paradise. فَتَلْقَاهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ فَيَقُولُونَ. The angels will meet them and ask them, and ask, "Inna narakum sira'an ilal jannah." We see you are moving fast, speedily towards the paradise. They will reply, "Nahnu ahlul fadl." We are the ones who belong to the superior moral attribute. So, superior moral attributes in our soul earns the status that these people are the ones who are going to head towards the paradise speedily. نحن أهل الفضل فيقولون, and they would say, كنا إذا ظلمنا غفرنا. When, now look at the description they are describing in front of the angels on the day of judgment, while they're heading towards the paradise speedily. This is how they are describing their profile to the angels. Kunna idha zulimna ghafarna. We were such that if we were subjected to oppression, we used to forgive. If somebody oppresses me, I'm willing to forgive him. وَإِذَا أُسِيءَ إِلَيْنَا عَفَوْنَا. When bad behavior was done to us, we used to, forgive. وَإِذَا جُهِلَ عَلَيْنَا حَلِمْنَا. And when ignorance was exercised against us, a lot of people do bad things because they are ignorant, they don't know, they are jahil, they are ignorance. And this is the job of those who are knowledgeable, to forgive them, give them a space, educate them, give them a chance to get educated and make educated decisions, knowledge based decisions. And as long as those people are doing certain bad deeds based on their ignorances, we ignore and let go of those bad things and try to educate them so they come out of that darkness of ignorance. But that requires a lot of patience. Hilm. In Farsi, we say burdbari, tolerance, tolerating, forbearance, tolerating the bad behaviors of those people who are in ignorance. فَيُقَالَ لَهُمْ أُدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةَ فَنِعْمَ أَجْرُ الْعَامِلِينَ. It will be said to them, enter the paradise, how good is the reward of those who practiced. So this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is just a glimpse, little glimpse of how Allah treats Ahlul Fada'il, those people who have superior moral attributes. So, أفضلكم منزلة عند الله أطولكم جوعا وتفكرا. In the hadith of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, narrated in Tanbihul Khawatir, Prophet said, we learn from this hadith that the most superior amongst you in terms of the status in the eyes of Allah is the one who is longer going through hunger. Atwalukum ju'an. Alhamdulillah, we are now in the month of Ramadan. Today is the first of the month of Ramadan. For the entire US and the southern cities of Canada. So we go through the hunger for the sake of Allah in the month of Ramadan, right? So, atwalakum ju'an, those people who stayed hungry for the longest of the times, they are the ones who are the most superior in the eyes of Allah. How many times it happened Prophet and Ahlul Bayt gave away their food? Surah Al-Dahr, we all know, Surah which is also called Surah Al-Insan. هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا. The whole surah is revealed in the fadilat and superior attribute of the Prophet, of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam, Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. These al-Khamsa at-Tayyiba, Panchtane Pak, they gave away their food to the miskin and the destitute, the yatim, the orphan, and the asir, a captive who was recently relieved from the prison. And look at the honor Allah reveals a surah in their honor and in their love of the Prophet of these Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Atwalukum ju'an wa tafakkuran, the one who thinks longer, more. We are supposed to think and utilize our brain. وَأَبْغَضُكُمْ إِلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى, and the most hated in the eyes of Allah amongst you is كُلُّ نَؤُومٍ, the person, we learn in the light of this hadith that the person who sleeps a lot, وَأَكُولٌ, the person who eats a lot, وَشَرُوبٌ, the person who drinks a lot. This is condemned. Focusing on a lot of food, focusing on a lot of drinks, going for a lot of food, eating a lot of food, drinking a lot of drinks is condemned in Islam. We are not supposed to eat full, period. It never happened in the life of the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, not even once. Never happened in the life. You cannot prove from any history that Prophet and Ahlul Bayt even ever ate food full. That's condemned in Islam. They never do. So my teacher, Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli, Hafadahullah, I remember, was saying in his lesson that when uh, a person eats full, this is, eating full is an anti-value. It's raza'il, among the raza'il, the negative attributes of the soul. Today, we are discussing the fada'il and rada'il, the superior attributes and the negative attributes. What adorns the soul, adornment for the soul, zenith of the soul are the fada'il, the superior moral attributes, and raza'il are the negative attributes that downs our soul, makes our soul drop down, makes it negative, makes it zulmani, dark. For those of the Urafa, Arif, Mushtahids who don't have hijabat and curtains on their souls, and they can see the souls of others. If I have a superior moral attribute in my soul, they will see that attribute in the form of nur and divine light, luminous. And if I have, God forbid, a bad negative attribute, they will, that this is called razila, and the plural is raza'il. They will see those raza'il, negative attributes, in the form of zulmat and darkness. So every good attribute adds into the nur of the person, the divine light into the soul, which is the food for the soul. Not the music, how they say music is the food for the, that's a lie. That's a fabrication. Music is not the food for the soul. Food for the soul is what is defined by God, our creator, not the music, which has nothing to do with the concept of food for the soul. So if I have a negative moral attribute, God forbid, raza'il, that will be visible in the form of darkness. So my teacher, coming back to the point I was mentioning, my teacher said that as soon as if a person eats full, his soul is now blocked out from receiving any ma'navi, metaphysical blessing any further. That means no ma'navi blessing, no metaphysical blessing is now going to enter into the soul. Wow, that's too bad. We human beings need the metaphysical blessings to enter consistently into our soul, so we get elevated and reach the kamal and perfection of ourselves. And on the other hand, um, uh, all the negative attributes block away the person. الرذائل تحجب الإنسان عن الفضائل. The negative attributes block the person from the good attributes. So these are the opposites. You cannot combine fada'il with the raza'il. You have to get rid of the raza'il, battle against those negative attributes to get rid of them, remove them, drive them out of your spirituality, and replace them with the fada'il. This is where the scholars of akhlaq say, takhliye muqaddamas ba tahliya and tajliya. Actually, our Urafa say, when tahliya comes, tahliya and tajliya will follow, will come. So the first step, which is probably the most difficult one, is to get rid of the bad moral attributes. Thus, we get rid of doing ghibat, backbiting. We get rid of doing tuhmat, slander. We get rid of hasad, envy towards a mu'min. We get rid of takabbur, arrogance, showing arrogance in front of Allah and in front of the people. We get rid of attachment with this dunya. We get rid of attachment with this money. We get rid of attachment with the positions. Some people have a love affair with positions. They want to be on positions. Some people have a love affair with sleeping. So we need to get rid of all the negative attributes, which are the reason why we human beings commit the sins. So there are people who give away nur. When you acquire the fadail, Every fadilat, every superior attribute adds into the divine light of your soul, and your soul is now becoming luminous, more and more illuminating, giving away the light of God, Nur of Allah. He is the source of all Nur. Quran says, Allahu Nuru samawati wal ard. Allah is the light of heavens and earth. We human beings are supposed to become madhar and reflection and majali and mara'i and mirrors of the attributes of our Lord. If Allah is Kareem and generous, we are supposed to become madhar and reflection of Al Kareem, the name of Allah, Al Kareem. If Allah is Ar Rahim, the merciful, the compassionate, we need to become the madhar and reflection of the name Al Kareem, Al Rahim, and become compassionate, right? If to all those for whom Allah is compassionate, and if because there's a difference between the compassion and mercy related to the name Ar-Rahim, which is this mercy relates to, the scholars say in the tafsir, relates to the mu'min people only. That special mercy which Allah provides to the mu'min people only. And Ar-Rahman is the general mercy that relates to everyone. So we need to become the madhar and reflection of the rahmat and mercy related to the name Ar-Rahman, thus willing and thus also ending up doing the same behavior like Allah is doing towards everyone. That mercy which belongs to everyone, we should also be willing to provide that sort of mercy to that level, to that extent to everyone. And that mercy that belongs to Ar-Rahim, related to the Mu'min people only, we are supposed to identify and provide that sort of mercy, that kind of mercy to the Mu'min people only. We need to understand, elevate in our knowledge and practice it, and thus become the madhar and reflection of these names. So there are some people who give away light. So when you yourself have the moral attributes, each one adding nur into your soul becomes luminous, and you are now providing light. So look at the verse of Holy Quran. Allah says, وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا يَمْشِي بِهِ فِي النَّاسِ. So we learn from the light of, in the light of this verse, when we have provided nur to him, light to him, with which he walks among the people. So there are certain people who walk in the society and they give away the nur and light to others. They already have the light. There are others who are in darkness. They give away the light to others. They're not going to talk about, hey, this is what we ate today. This is what I went to the mall. This is what I bought today. The focus of their life is not what they buy and what they eat. The focus of their life is how they can get close to Allah and reach the status through striving on maintaining these fada'il, superior attributes. We strive to maintain these fada'il in our morality, and thus we reach a level where we become one of the awliyaullah, beloved servants of Allah, elevating from the level of being a mu'min, a believer, to the level of becoming waliyullah, a beloved servant of Allah. The plural is awliyaullah, one of the awliyaullah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was, according to the narration, was sitting for a short while somewhere, and in that short while he was talking about the difference between a mu'min and a non-mu'min. And we learn in the light of that hadith that mu'min, when he gets sick, when he gets the cure from the sickness, he knows that the sickness, this sickness is a lesson for him. He knows that health is not in his control. Allah is the one who makes us sick, right? Allah is the one who gives us the cure. So it's in the hands of Allah. It's not in our hands. Yes, we take the medications. Yes, Islam says to go to the doctor. Yes, Islam asks us to go for the treatment, correct. But at the end of the day, who is in control? Our Lord is the one who provides us the health. Going to the doctor is very, very good, but that's one of the wasila, one of the means. And only if Allah makes it a means, right? The one in control is only Allah. So his Moment knows that his health is not in his control, and it's not going to be forever. Nobody's going to stay healthy forever, right? These are part health and sickness. These things go on and off. We sometimes are healthy, sometimes we get sick. And as long as we are healthy, how we are supposed to, how a moment's supposed to take the nice benefit from this time of being healthy. When he's healthy, we can do a lot of things when we are healthy, and we cannot do a lot of things when we are sick. What's the best way to take benefit from the time we are healthy? This is how the moment is. Whereas a non-mu'min, when he gets sick, he does not understand who made him sick and who is going to give him health. He doesn't understand this, right? And what he's supposed to do when he's healthy. Kanaka, Prophet said, like a she camel. You see we know that when you tie up a camel, camel, you set the camel free. It doesn't know, you know, who tied him up. When he is tied up, the food is less or is more. When he's set free, what is going to be the situation? He doesn't know none of those things. This is, uh, you know, even the sicknesses that we go through uh, should be uh, should be a lesson for a mu'min. We need to be thankful. We need to be grateful for all the blessings. We need to be thankful for the sickness as well, because that gives us a lot of lessons. And Allah puts us through a test so we can get elevated further to the levels of becoming waliullah, a beloved servant of Allah. So, um, beloved servant of Allah is possible for every mu'min to become, and every mu'min must strive to become a beloved of Allah, waliullah, to be part of awliyaullah, beloved servants of Allah. We cannot be a prophet. The door to prophethood is already shut. Those humans who were deserving to become prophets were already made prophets by Allah based on their merit and how much they deserved. And likewise, the door of becoming a ma'soom, infallible imam is already shut. Those of the 12 imams who deserved to be made the imams after the Holy Prophet were made imams by Allah. No one else can become an infallible imam like them. Yes, the word imam in Arabic is used for non-infallible people as well frequently. That's why I'm adding the adjective infallible imams. Those who deserve to become infallible imams were already made the infallible imams. Nobody else deserves to become the infallible imam. So, but the door of walayat is never shut. I remember my teacher who taught us that we all can be part of awliyaullah, beloved servants of Allah, like Zakaria ibn Adam, rahmatullahi alayh, and salamullahi alayh. May the salam of Allah be upon him. A companion of Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, our eighth Imam. Zakaria ibn Adam, rahmatullahi alayh, used to live in the holy city of Qum al-Muqaddasa, Qum the holy. And he wrote to his master, his Mawla, Imam Ar-Rida alayhi salam. The elderly generation have already passed away, and I'm not familiar with the new ones. If you allow me, I would migrate from the holy Qom to you. And Imam Rida alayhi salam replied back to Zakaria ibn Adam, no, you stay in Qom. We learn in the light of this great hadith of Imam Rida alayhi salam, although every hadith is equally great, we learn in the light of this hadith that um, because your Imam Rida said to him, because sent this message to him, because your existence is a barakat, blessing for the people of Qom. And Imam Rida alayhi salam said that Allah, is removing the punishment to arrive on the people of Qom because of your presence. Wow. Wow, a non-infallible mu'min can reach with his superior fada'il and superior moral attributes to a level that he becomes one of the awliya Allah, one of the beloved servants of Allah, such as to such an extent that because of his presence, the punishment of God is not arriving on the people of Qom, and Allah is removing the punishment to arrive, and his wujud, his existence becomes barakat and blessing for the people of Qom. This is where my teacher was saying that all of us can become awliya Allah, beloved servants of Allah. It's all about avoiding and getting rid of the raza'il, the evil, moral, negative moral attributes, and adorning our soul with the fada'il, the superior moral attributes, and taking care of the adab of the adab is the plural of adab, and adab means the etiquettes, how to behave, which is uh, we learn those moral attributes and make sure we adopt those moral attributes which Allah loves. And thus, when we do our deeds, we do only al-khisal al-hamida, those of the moral deeds, with moral actions and moral attributes which Allah loves. So taking care of the adab makes us more and more closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And adorning our souls with the fada'il makes our souls luminous. And then the hadith didn't end yet. Imam Rida alayhi salam, in his message, he then says, similarly, how Allah, because of the barakat of my father, removes the adab and punishment to arrive on Kadhimiyya. In India and Pakistan, they call it Kadhimain. The actual name of the city is not Kadhimain. The actual name in Arabic is Al-Kadhimiyya. So just like Allah is removing the azab to arrive on Al-Kadhimiyya because of the grave of my father, Imam Rida alayhi salam's father is Imam Al-Kadhim alayhi salam, who is buried in Al-Kadhimiyya. And because of the presence of Imam Al-Kadhim alayhi salam in Al-Kadhimiyya, the adab of Allah is not arriving. Look at the beauty. إن الله لا يدفع بالمؤمن الواحد عن القرية الفناء. Excuse me. Allah removes the punishment of devastation to arrive on a population due to the presence of one moment. If there's one moment present, Allah is not going to punish that population. Look at how much respect Allah has for one mu'min, one real believer. And how much respect would Allah have for awliya Allah? And let me mention, as we get close to the end of that, let me mention to you about what Prophet has said about awliya Allah. So Prophet says in awliya Allah sakatu fakana sukutuhum fikran. So we learn in the light of this hadith that the beloved servants of Allah are such, if they are silent, their sukut and silence is thinking. Look at the attributes of the beloved servants, how great they are. When they are silent, The silence is thinking. That means they think about the affairs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're always focused on Allah. These personalities are always, this description is from me. They're always focused on Allah. What Prophet said in awliya'ullah sakatu fakana sukutuhum fikran. So we learn from this hadith that when the beloved servants of Allah are silent, the silence is thinking. وَتَكَلَّمُوا فَكَانَ كَلَامُهُمْ ذِكْرًا. When they speak, the talk is remembrance. Whenever they talk, their talk is remembrance of Allah. That means they always remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're always in the state of remembrance. If I, God forbid, I do a sin, did I remember Allah? There is no way a person can do a sin if he is in the state of zikr. Zikr means remembrance of Allah. Zakir, the one who remembers Allah. We are all, as believers, we are all supposed to be zakir. That means in the state of zikr, in the state of remembrance of Allah. If we are in the state of remembrance, we will never do the sins. We'll always avoid the sins. The reason God forbid, if I do a sin, the reason I did is because I forgot Allah. I'm not a zakir. I'm not in the state of remembrance of Allah. So we are supposed to be, awliyaullah are always in the state of remembrance of Allah. وَالنَّظَرُ فَكَانَ نَظَرُهُمْ عِبْرَةً. When they look around, their looking around is a lesson. Ibrat, a lesson, quote unquote, is defined in the science of Islamic morality, is that when you look at a bad attribute around you, if somebody is doing a bad thing, somebody is backbiting. For example, somebody has hasad and envy towards a mu'min, somebody has arrogance. So when you look at a bad attribute, you transfer yourself from the bad attribute, the razila, towards the good attribute, the fadilat. If you did, after looking at a bad attribute, did you transfer yourself from a razila, raza'il, towards the fada'il, the superior attributes, or not? If you did, now it is called in the ilmul akhlaq, science of morality, you took a lesson out of it. If I see bad attributes around me and I witness them, and I am still not transferring myself from the raza'il, the bad attributes, to the fada'il, the superior attributes, then I did not take a lesson. I didn't take ibrat from it. Awliyaullah, the beloved servants of Allah, are such. وَالنَّظَرُ فَكَانَ نَظَرُهُمْ عِبْرَةً. Whenever they look around, their looking around is taking a lesson. They always take a lesson. And I explained to you what is the meaning of taking a lesson. Transferring yourself from the rada'il to the fada'il. وَالنَّتَقُ فَكَانَ نُطْقُهُمْ حِكْمَةً. When they speak, their talk is wisdom. When they speak, their talk is wisdom. They don't talk useless talk. Like I said in the beginning, that, oh, what did I eat today? What did I buy? You cannot focus on these things. That's not their focus of life. They don't live for the sake of eating. There's some people who live for the sake of eating. We are not made to live for the sake of eating. We are made to live for the sake of Allah. A huge difference. We are not made to live for anything of this dunya or anything of the world of matter. We are made to live for the sake of our Lord and to serve Him, His servitude towards Him. وَنَتَقُوا فَكَانَ نُطْقُهُمْ حِكْمَةً. There, when they speak, their speech is wisdom. وَمَشَوْا فَكَانَ مَشْيَتُهُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ بَرَكَةً. When they walk, their walking among the people is blessing. And that's so true. You look at one of the awliyaullah and you learn so much by looking at them. The way the beloved servants of Allah, uh, the way the beloved, can I request to please mute your microphone? Um, thank you. When the beloved servants of Allah walk around in the society, and you just look at one of those beloved servants of Allah, you will learn so much by just looking at them. the way they talk, the way they walk, the way they discuss the things, the way they, enlighten others, teach others, speak, their policies of life, what they do, what they choose not to do. Everything of theirs is a lesson. This is where we say, awliya Allah give away the light. Allah has provided them the nur, so they are now giving away nur and light to others. وَمَشَوْا فَكَانَ مَشْيَتُهُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ بَرَكَةً. When they walk, they're walking among the people is barakat and blessing. Well, then the Prophet says, describing the awliyaullah, the beloved servants of Allah, لَوْلَا الْآجَالُ الَّتِي كُتِبَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ. Had it not been for that fixed time of death written upon them, لَمْ تَسْتَقِرْ أَرْوَاحُهُمْ فِي أَجْسَادِهِمْ. Their souls would not have stayed in their bodies. That means their souls would have departed their bodies. Had it not been for the fixed time of death. The fixed time of death is fixed by God and His absolute wisdom. And we're not going to die before that. We're not going to die after that. There is no delay. There is nothing getting sooner. There's exactly, precisely fixed time of death for every soul, for every person. The soul is taken out at the time of death. So that fixed time is there. And that also gives us another lesson, that when the fixed time of death is there, you're not supposed to be afraid of anyone or anything other than Allah. Nobody can harm you, take away your life ahead of the fixed time. There are people in the society, in the human society, who have been, the enemies fired the entire magazine of the automatic rifle on them, but the guy survives. He got injured and then he got cured, but he didn't die because the fixed time of death didn't arrive. And there are people who, when the fixed time of death arrives, then there is no saving. Nobody can save them from that. So, لولا الآجال التي كتبت عليهم, had it not been for the fixed time of death written upon them, لم تستقر أرواحهم في أجسادهم. Awliyaullah, beloved servants of Allah, are such, their souls would not stay in their bodies, you know. So their souls would love to depart ASAP to get to the proximity of Allah, because death is liqa'ullah, meeting with Allah. They love Allah throughout the life. Awliyaullah, beloved servants of Allah, were doing what they're doing for the sake of Allah and His love. Their souls would not like to stay inside their body for the blinking of an eye. They would depart and meet with Allah immediately, had it not been for the fixed time of death. Blinking of an eye is not in this hadith, but I'm explaining to you. خوفا من العقاب وشوقا إلى الثواب. Why would they do that? For the sake of the fear of the punishment and the eagerness towards the rewards. They are eager towards getting all those rewards, and they are afraid of all the punishments that Allah has if we misbehave. So this is the status of awliya Allah. So they reach a level where they are not going to tolerate any dhulm. As Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says in Nahj al-Balagha, la yahtamilu ad-dayma illa az-zalil. No one tolerates the oppression except a zalil and humiliated person. That means a mu'min who is dignified is never going to tolerate oppression. We will always resist. We will always oppose the oppression. We will always take a stand against the oppression. This is also part of fada'il, that we don't give in and submit to the oppressors. So when we have these fada'il, superior moral attributes, and we get rid of the raza'il, a soul start illuminating. But what if the person fails to acquire the fada'il and his soul is full of those raza'il, evil moral attributes? What happens is that the angels of Allah hit the person on the face and on the back. Look at the verse of Holy Quran, Al-Malaikatu. And I'm going to end at this point after explaining this. Al-Malaikatu yadribuna wujuhahum wa adbarahum. So we learn it from this verse. There are angels who hit on the backs and angels who hit on the face. So Ayatollah al-Uzma Sheikh Shah Abadi, the teacher of Imam Khomeini for Ilm al-Irfan, he said in the tafsir of this ayat in his book Shazarat al-Ma'arif that those are the angels who hit at the face of the person are those angels who are assigned in Barzakh. Barzakh is the stage between after the death till the day of judgment happens. Those angels who are assigned in Barzakh are the ones who hit at the face of the person. Why do they hit at the face? Because they say, see, this guy is departing this dunya and coming to Barzakh empty-handed. His soul is empty, no fada'il, no superior attributes, no taqwa, no piety. He is empty. They hit on his face. And those of the angels who hit at the back, Ayatollah Sheikh Shahabadi is doing the tafsir. Those of the angels who hit at the back are the ones who are assigned in this dunya by Allah. They hit the guy at the back because they see the guy is leaving this dunya empty-handed. No fada'il of the soul, no taqwa, no nuraniyat, no luminosity of the soul, empty-handed. They hit him at the back. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us the tawfiq to understand and to practice the fada'il of Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, and to avoid the raza'il, and to acquire the salvation in this world and the hereafter. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Let's recite the Ayatul Karima for all the mu'mineen and mustalafeen and mahrumeen and mazlumeen in the Islamic Ummah, especially our beloved Sheikh Zakzaki and his wife, the mother of 6 shaheed, and all those who are in the prisons of Nigeria, and the prisons of those sisters and brothers in the prisons of Bahrain, and those mu'mineen who are in the prisons of Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, and all those who are in prisons anywhere else in the world. We respect everyone for all those, and all those who need our dua, all those who are sick, all those who have hajat and needs. For all of them, let's recite the Ayatul Karima 5 times all together. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه يكشف السوء 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 أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه يكشف السوء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين واخذل الكفار والمنافقين. اللهم انصر من نصر الدين واخذل من خذل المسلمين. اللهم انصر واحفظ وأيد علماءنا الربانيين ومراجعنا الربانيين، لا سيما الولي الفقيه قائد المسلمين. اللهم انصر جيوش المسلمين وعساكر الموحدين. اللهم فك عن الأسراء المسلمين. اللهم وفقنا لما تحب وترضى، وعجل في فرج مولانا صاحب الزمان، واجعلنا من أنصاره وأشياعه وأتباعه وأعوانه بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين. Thank you.
Maulana Sahab, Jazakallah for the classes. Are there any questions? There aren't any questions. So thank you for all the sessions. Today is the last session of the series. Inshallah, there'll be more sessions being announced in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much.